Hello everyone, this is Constant Summer with Mysterious Galaxy. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. I am so happy that we have this event tonight. We have Cliff the Failed Troll, and we have the author and the illustrator joining us tonight, which is very special. So we have author Barbara Davis, is it Pyles? How do I?
Pyles.
Sorry. Pyles,
yeah, that's right.
And then illustrator Justin Hillgrove. And Cliff the Failed Troll is just... I literally read it on the sofa with my roommate, and it made both of us just genuinely smile and feel all the happy feels, and it truly does put the F in fantastic and all of the great things. So I'm going to let them, they're going to give you a reading, which you're very lucky to get, so you'll get to see exactly what I was referencing with that little drop. But I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to our author and illustrator. But before I do, Ye Old Vanna White section of the event. If you look to the right-hand side, you'll see that's where the general chat is. So that is where you can speak all things book-loving and troll pirate amazingness. And then if you look down below where it says ask a question, as that would imply, that is indeed where you can ask a question. And then if you would like to purchase this amazingly awesome fun book, which I am very proudly displaying on my bookshelf, then you can click the green button down below that says buy book, and you will additionally get a signed and personalized book plate. I will go ahead and see you guys at the end of the event, but you guys are in for such a treat. Have a good event.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much for coming. I guess, Justin, I just want you to know that I am, in your honor, I have a juice box.
I forgot my juice box. I was gonna...
That's okay. I got you covered. Anyway, yep. I was going to start with how the story happened, but I want to thank everybody for coming. And so I'm going to attempt this share screen deal. And, you know, there's a writer's adage that says, write what you know. And you may know that I don't write stories about technology whiz kids. There's probably a reason for that. So here we go. And all right. And are you seeing that, Justin?
Yeah, we're good.
Fantastic. Okay.
Barb, I'll keep an eye on questions too. So if anyone has any questions, I'll...
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. All right. Well, I thought I would tell how this story came about, and for lack of a clever title, I've called it The Story of the Story. And, you know, each writer is different on how they come up with stories. And for me, it's always I hear or see in my mind a character first. It's always a character, and then it's a character who bugs me, and then I write what that character's story is. But oddly enough, with Cliff, he started off, well, different, because at the time, for some reason, I was obsessed with writing a troll story. Like, very specifically, I wanted to write a story about a troll. I have no idea why, because I actually didn't have a lot of troll experience, which is probably a good thing. In fact, I only knew of 2 traditional type trolls. I'm not talking about the DreamWorks kind of trolls. The first one was a story I remembered as a kid called The Three Billy Goat Scruff, and you may know that story too. This illustration here is actually a woodcut from one of the first printings of it in 1896, but I'm not quite that old. So I knew this troll, and the other troll that I knew was the Fremont troll. Now, if you're not from the Northwest, you may not be familiar with the Fremont troll, but he lives under the Aurora Bridge in Seattle. And so that's basically all I knew about trolls. Like that was my research. And so from this serious troll research, I knew 3 things. That trolls seem to hang out under bridges. They don't move much. In fact, I can personally tell you that the Fremont troll has not moved in nearly 3 decades. They eat goats, and in the case of the Fremont troll, VW beetles. So out of this vast knowledge, I wrote a story about a troll who didn't move very much. Honestly, he didn't move at all. And I named him Cliff because he was like a literal cliff. And this is actually the beginning of that manuscript. And spoiler alert, it was a total fail. It was just receives an F, trust me. But at the time, with great confidence and very little fanfare, I sent it to the acquiring editor I had worked with for my book, Grizzly Boy, and the other book, Stubby the Fearless Squid. Now, acquiring editor was actually this person's mild-mannered secret identity. And as an editor, Ben Clanton gets an A+, but in his disguised delivery, I am giving him an F because I can totally recognize him here. And you may too, because he's actually the superhero, author, and illustrator of the Narwhal and Jelly series, Rex Rexit, Boo Hoo, Rot, It Came in the Mail, so many things, so many books. And I could go on all night about that, but why don't you just buy his books and experience the awesomeness for yourself? Now, Ben, having those author illustrator superpowers, he noticed right away that my character Cliff didn't move. But in his kind feedback, he said, Cliff hardly moves, and that was being generous. Now, as you can imagine, in the picture book world, there's not a whole lot of potential, I guess, for main characters or characters in picture books that don't move. Unless you're like a bowl full of mush in Goodnight Moon, it's just not going to happen. And so right off the bat, Cliff was a total fail, and he could have lived out the rest of his days as a sad file on my computer. But Ben said something else in his feedback. He said that the Cliff character might be hard to relate to, and these were his wise words, because most kids, of course, have a really hard time sitting still. And when I read that, I said, duh, how could I have forgotten that? I've actually raised 2 wiggly kids to adulthood, and many, many years ago, I worked as a psychologist with wiggly kids, but somehow that had slipped my mind. And I pulled myself together at that point, got over my little embarrassment about not remembering that, and said the magic words. Now, if there are any young people out there listening to this, you are smart enough to know the magic words of please and thank you. But these magic words are the ones that most people don't tell you about. But I've got your back. They are what if. Now, what if they're magic words for writing stories and for living a life? And when you're writing a story, you say what if, and you think of all the trouble you can cause your main character, because trouble is what makes stories interesting. Now, when you're living a life, you say what if, and you think of all the ways you can make your life, say, awesomer, and then you go out and do those things. So I said, what if Cliff is not like regular trolls? What if he can't sit still? What if he doesn't fit in? What if he's really different? Now I knew I had a character, and so I knew he had a story. I was sure of it. But what do you do then with a wiggly troll? I had no idea. But as luck would have it, the summer I was writing this manuscript, my daughter was working as an educator and deckhand on the Adventuress. Now, the Adventuress is a century-old schooner that sails all around the Puget Sound, and it takes grown-ups and kids on excursions and teaches them about the environment and teaches them how to sail. And lucky me, I was able to go for a day sale thanks to my daughter. And let me tell you, I was kept very busy that day. There was rope everywhere. And I know if she's listening to this, she'll say, sailors call them lines. But I'm not going to split hairs about that right now. But they're called lines. And so there's rope everywhere. You have to be on watch. There's cleanup to do. There's raising sails. There's taking them down and doing what's called flaking them. So you're busy all day. And just as a side note, it takes a lot of people to raise a mainsail. And that's why there are sea shanties, because when you're singing along, you all pull at the same rhythm. And it was such a fun day. In fact, here I am flaking the sail as it's coming down that day. Now, here's the thing about writers. We go around kind of doing things and trying to look normal, at least we hope so. But what's going on in our heads, like especially if we're writing a story, this day, all I could think about was troll, troll, troll. What am I going to do? Because I was deep into this story. What am I going to do with him? He can't sit still. He fidgets, he fusses. And man, am I busy. There is so much to do on a ship. Good grief. I haven't even had a chance to sit down. I can't believe how busy we are. And then, bam. I knew right away where Cliff belonged, where he would be the most happy. And after that, his story came together really quickly. And so the manuscript got a yes. And I was so thrilled when they chose Justin, and Justin agreed to take on this story because he gets an A+ for artistic awesomeness. I had been a fan of his work for years, and I guess he will take it from here.
All right. Thanks, Barb. I hadn't actually heard any of that, so that was pretty interesting. And just so I don't know how much they told everyone, but we are going to be reading the whole book afterwards here in just a few minutes. So in case you actually want all of that in context of what is she talking about, pirates and all that, you'll see in just a sec here. But I just wanted to share the art side of the literal side, which just happened there. Working on Cliff was a great experience for me. I'd received a couple other manuscripts before this that I had decided not to illustrate because they just didn't feel like they fit my art style. I'd mostly paint monsters and robots and weird stuff like that. And so when I got this, I was like, okay, it's a good story, and it leaves me enough wiggle room to kind of create some characters and a world. And character creation, world building is one of my favorite things to do. So it was really exciting to go ahead and start working on this with Barb. So going in, I guess the first thing I had to do was, or the first thing I was asked to do was they said, hey, could you drop these trolls and just show us what these characters are going to look like. And Sasquatch Books is a Pacific Northwest publisher. They kind of try to base everything around the beautiful Pacific Northwest that we live in. And this book actually takes place in or around the Salish Sea, which is a real sea. I didn't know that, but apparently I live really close to it. So I had to look it up. I'm like, what's the Salish Sea? And apparently it's like that whole side. But so I wanted to make sure that the characters embodied the different areas that kind of make up the Pacific Northwest. So we've got, for example, it'll be easier to see when we actually here. Let's see. Do I have? I'm gonna do a spoiler here and show you the first spread here. So you can see there's some trolls there. And I wanted to kind of embody the Pacific Northwest. And actually, jumping past that a little bit, the other thing I did with the Pacific Northwest is there's areas where you can see mountains, and those are actual mountain ranges around me. I don't know which mountains they are. There's a lot of mountains around here, and I was never good at telling the mountains apart, but they are real mountains. But yeah, you can see the teacher here. She's like a briar troll. She represents the bane of the Pacific Northwest gardener's existence, the blackberry. You've got the stone troll, which looks like he could be related to the Fremont troll. He's a distant nephew or cousin. Or we've got a woodland or a marsh troll. We've got a coastal troll, and of course, our hero of the story, Cliff, he's like a meadow troll, which I feel embodies his personality. You know, the sunshine and the freshness of his character pretty well. So once I sent those in, and it sounded like everyone was happy, and I got to just kind of go nuts and start illustrating the book. And for those of you that are curious, for those of you who are curious, the process on that is basically I have the manuscript, and with a little bit of direction from Barb, she had a few notes. I had to break up the words into pages. I knew there was going to be 32 pages, and some of those would be spreads. So I kind of just broke it up with a few spots where Barb had said, you know, hey, this needs to be a page turn here because the story flow, you know, you want it to be a reveal here. So taking that into account. And then I did thumbnail sketches of the entire book. And those I just came across those the other day, my original little thumbnail sketches. So let's see if you can see those. But so for each of these pages, you know, I did these tiny little, let's see, is there that first page I just showed you guys? Oh yeah, here it is. So that spread I had just showed you, there it is. So I thumbnailed the whole page, and there were extra pages that got thrown out at that point or moved around. And then from there, I did a rough sketch of each page, and then 2 more rounds of each page, like cleaning it up, adding color. And I actually was going to show you some of that, but I have to reboot in order to change my permissions and all that. So not going to do that. But then at the end, it was finals and the final drawings and the color, and then just changes. And the changes, admittedly, there was a lot of changes, and that's why I chose to actually work digitally. Primarily, I paint with acrylic paints, watercolors. I love traditional art, but for a project like this, I decided to go digital, and I think it was the right choice. And it was a lot of fun doing it digitally because it was so flexible, and I still got to make it look, I think, pretty natural. I feel like it has a kind of a colored pencil, charcoal kind of vibe to it that I really like. Plus, a lot of control over the colors. I picked a really earthy color tone palette that I was real happy with. So that's pretty much about it. So someone asked, how long did it take to write and illustrate the book? As far as illustration goes, I think we spent, what do you think, Barb? Was there about a year?
I'd say.
It was about a year, not full time. It was off and on, but it was a lot. It was a lot of work, and it was a pretty long time. What about the writing, Barb?
It was about 5 months.
Yeah. There was a lot of back and forth, it sounds like, too.
There was.
Yeah. There was a couple other questions. Would you be a troll or a pirate, Barb?
Well, I think the shirt says pirate.
Okay.
All the way.
I think I'd have to go troll, unless it's not a YouTube troll, though. And on which page is your favorite line, and on which page is your favorite illustration?
Ooh.
That that I don't know if that's easier to call out while we're doing the
Maybe
read.
after,
We don't
maybe
want
after.
to interrupt it. But for me, it's easy because I like the first spread because it's the introduction. You know, it's what brings you into the world, and it has all the troll characters, and you can right away see the contrast between our little happy hero and his surroundings.
I think for me, my favorite, it's so hard to pick, but the introduction of Polly that you did, perfection.
So yeah, that's, should we go ahead and read the book?
I could read the book.
All right.
Like that. And then if there's any questions after, and then, so
Yep.
Here I go again, trying to share the screen. So I'm going to trust you, Justin, to tell me that it's,
I'll let you know if things go horribly wrong.
yes, we'll just read by hand. All right, come on. It is not showing the PDF again. Hooray. Wait, let's try this. Are you seeing anything there?
Not.
Wait, here we go. There it came up.
I don't see it on my end. Oh, there it is. Hey, we're winning.
See it now?
Yep.
Okay. We're good?
We're good.
Okay, yeah, you won't be seeing any technology books from me, clearly. Okay, so here goes. Cliff the Failed Troll.
Warning, there to be pirates in this book.
Cliff was a failed troll. Anyone could see that on the first day of school.
Ahoy! Ahem.
When the other students used the proper troll hello.
Go away!
In class, the other students could sit still for weeks. Cliff fidgeted, fussed, and fiddled his fingers into knots.
Wow, that looks like a sailor's hitch.
Every day, he was asked the same question.
Do you have ants in your pants?
Every day he checked. No. Field trips were no better. Whenever a wisp of wind tickled his ear whiskers, Cliff couldn't keep from singing. My body lies over the ocean. The other students were as musical as gravel.
Ouch!
So it was no surprise that Cliff's final report card looked like this.
Bridge building, F. Stony staring, F. Moss management, F.
He even got an
F in goat gobbling.
I'm a vegetarian. That's fine with me. I don't want to be a troll anyway. I want to be a pirate.
You're kooky. Trolls are landlubbers.
Yeah,
We love the land.
Cliff signed up for pirate school that very day, packed his things, and set off for the Salish Sea. He was so excited and in such a rush that he didn't watch where he was going. So, of course, he slipped on a banana slug. I'm so sorry. Are you hurt? No. Then why are you crying? I'm crying because I can't wear an eye patch, and that means I can't be a pirate. Ah! Tyranny Hardies, you don't need an eye patch. I'm going to be a pirate, and I don't even have a parrot. Wait, what did you say your name was? Polly. Perfect. Cliff scooped up Polly and plopped her on his shoulder. Yay! Yoo-hoo-hoo! We'll be the best pirate team the world has ever seen. When Cliff and Polly got to pirate school, anyone could see that they were, well, different. Why? Cliff's heart sank. He did not want to be a failed pirate too.
Ahoy!
In class, Cliff never sat still. There was too much to do.
Swashbuckle!
Swab decks.
Batten hatches! Beat to quarters!
And there was plenty of rope for fiddly fingers.
Round turn and 2 half hitches!
Cliff tried very hard, but sometimes he messed up, like when he ate too many breakfasts or tied too many knots, which happened a lot. To make matters worse, the sea was breezy, and while Cliff tried to keep his singing to a hum, Polly always joined in, so
Louder! Hey-ho, and away we go!
on the plus side, nobody, not even once, asked if he had ants in his pants.
Because I don't.
And nobody called him kooky, but nobody called him clever either. So the night before report cards came out, Cliff's timbers were shivering too much to sleep. At first light, he found his grades posted on the mast. Cliff took one look and was flabbergasted.
Cliff and Polly. Sail setting. F. Treasure tracking. F. Arg ability. F.
He even got an
F in not know-how. Fantastic!
fabulous.
First rate! Flawless!
Because pirates are, well, different. The end.
All right. That was awesome. I enjoyed the voices. That was very good. We did have a couple questions pop up, or let's see. You shared which page was your favorite. That was when he stepped on the slug, huh?
Yeah, Polly was perfectly drawn. Well, they all were. I mean, I couldn't believe when I saw the first sketches of Cliff. I almost cried. He was so cute, honestly. I couldn't. It was so perfect. I think so much. What's weird is so much of what you drew was like it was in my head. You know what I mean? It just fit so well. It's really nice. Which that was one of the other questions was what was our collaboration like? And it was very indirect because I would hear some of the comments from you through the editor, and you, I'm sure, heard some of my comments again through the editor. And we had this conversation about that, how it was almost kind of like, oh, we don't really talk until after it's done. And it's kind of sad. I feel like we missed out on an opportunity because once we finished the project, then we started talking, and it's like, oh, we're buddies now. I think part of it is because traditionally, at least from a lot of writers that I know, traditionally you don't want to interfere, and so you don't have communication with the illustrator. I would have loved to collaborated, but so I think it worked out perfectly.
Yeah, I think it did too. It says, which scene was the most challenging to bring to life? Oh, that is a good question. I almost have to peek at the book again really quick because I think, if I remember right, the most challenging, it actually was, so there's a page that says, Cliff tried very hard, but sometimes he messed up, like when he ate too many breakfasts. And I was thinking, how the heck do you eat too many breakfasts? And why are people annoyed about it? And then it was, I think I asked via the editor, and it was like, well, if he eats too many breakfasts, that means some people probably aren't getting breakfast. And then that whole thing where I drew him eating his breakfast and he had a big old piece of bacon in his hand. And the book was basically finished.
I know.
And we're like, hold on, was that you who noticed that? Like,
Okay. I literally woke up on a Saturday morning and said, oh, I had already approved the final thing. And I woke up on a Saturday morning and said, oh my goodness, he's a vegetarian. Was there any meat on that plate? And I looked and I was like, oh no, there's bacon. So
it could have been veggie bacon, but
it could have been.
yeah.
True.
So another question here is, do the two of you have any more collaborations or Cliff stories in the works? The two of you were such a great match for this book. Oh, thank you.
Well, thank you.
We actually we talked a little bit about that as well. We don't have anything planned, but we would both love to work together again, I think is what
Absolutely.
And I'll see if, and if you had to illustrate another genre, what would it be? You said technology, something technology based, right?
No. No, it's called Write What You Know. It's not what I know.
Yeah, so
I know pirates and trolls.
Our next collaboration will definitely be a sci-fi of some kind. Yeah, for me, it's like I love to draw, but I have my kryptonite, and that's I'm not good at things that aren't semi-organic. At least I have a hard time drawing cars, or even when I draw robots. When I draw robots, they look like they're made out of wood, or they've been like pasted together somehow and work by magic instead of technology. So
we're not doing a technology book. There you go.
No. So I don't know, maybe fantasy or something like that. Yeah. What were your artistic inspirations, and what moved you onto the path of being a writer/illustrator? What about for you?
For me, I have always had a dream to write, and I took the long way around. I wrote stories. I think I wrote my first picture book when I was like 9 or 10. But I went the long way around and spent my 20s getting a PhD and becoming a psychologist, and then realized, I don't think I fit there, as Cliff would say. And started writing and submitting. I wrote for educational companies for a good 10 years, and that was some great learning. But I just have a passion for writing. I don't feel, this is weird, I feel like I can't not write. I just have to write. What about you?
No, that makes sense. I feel like I have to draw as well. I was blessed with the knowledge very young that it was really the only thing I would probably ever be good at. So it made it really easy to choose to do art with my life. But I'm always very inspired by the things I grew up watching, cartoons back when they just happened on Saturday mornings or at certain times of the day, if you were lucky enough to catch those moments. And comics and books and all that kind of stuff. A huge Miyazaki fan, so it just kind of raised my kids on all the Studio Ghibli stuff. Maurice Sendak and the Muppets and Dark Crystal and all those things, like beaming amazing ideas into my head all up through childhood. But illustration, doing a children's book, I've been a fine artist. I mean, I paint monsters and stuff. I've been a fine artist for about 15 years, and this was the first time I'd actually done a children's book, and it was just a really different experience. I'm really glad it came up, and like you, I have Ben Clanton to thank for that, because he was the one who kind of got me in there doing it. We had met at a art festival or something and had chatted and have chatted off and on since then. So yeah, I'm not sure if I actually answered the question, but
I think you did. I think I'm just so glad you said yes. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I am too. All right. Let's see here. So that's the last question I see. Mm-hmm.
All right.
Do you have anything you wanted to add or any other questions? For...
No.
All right.
I have one more question for both of you. It's kind of two questions, I guess. It's always my favorite last question to ask is that we're celebrating this book, but what are you currently working on, or what projects do you have in the works? And then also, where can people find you so they can see more of your work and also stay up to date with what your current projects are?
Go ahead.
I am just starting a new graphic novel with my brother. The working title is called Fizz. And we'll probably be working on that off and on for the next, I don't know, year or two. It's just a side for fun project. But what's taking up most of my time right now is I'm doing a lot of toy design. So that's kind of my full-time job while everybody's quarantined, because most of my income was festival or exhibit based, I guess, like Comic-Con, those kind of exhibitions that no longer happen currently. But people can see my art at impsandmonsters.com, which I'll type it into the chat here. impsandmonsters.com. And yeah, you can see my art and all the weird stuff I draw there, and follow me. There's links on there to follow me on Instagram and Facebook and all that too. So.
Great. Well, my next book with Little Bigfoot is, it doesn't have a publication date yet. It's called Nobody Likes Frogs.
Oh.
So nobody does.
That's so true.
I've been working on a couple of different manuscripts. Most recently, kind of a nonfiction fiction hybrid about brains. So that's my current passion, is writing about brains.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Fascinating, though.
Yeah. You can find me.
You know more.
Oh, good. That's a good thing. And my website is barbaraDavis-Pyles.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram. The reluctant social media person.
I very much understand that. Twitter still scares me. And I now call people younger than me the youths because I don't understand, and I have officially reached that age where I'm like, I don't get you anymore. I don't understand it. And TikTok in and of itself too has become a whole thing where I'm like, oh goodness gracious. Well,
there's
thank
another
you.
one.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just saying TikTok. Yeah, it's like, oh, there's another one. Great.
Right, I know. It's like, oh my gosh. I'm like, I downloaded it and tried, and I was like, nope, I'm not learning another new form of social media, and closed it after one day. I threw in the towel very quickly on that front. But I want to thank both of you so much for coming and sharing Cliff with us. It is such a great picture book. I was really excited when I got to read it, and then I was also really excited that we got to introduce you to all of our readers. And what's great too is that for everyone who's listening to you can actually share this. I know it might be a little late in the evening for some people with kids, but Crowdcast will save this so they can actually replay and rewatch and enjoy again the reading that we got, which was phenomenal. Your voices are spot on. I was like not expecting amazing voices. I was like, oh my goodness, it was so awesome. I was like,
it was like you really audible experience.
Oh dear.
Exactly. It really was. I was like, if there is an audio book, you need to do it. So I would definitely recommend sharing this video because it's going to be such a fun rewatch. Oh, thank you, Carol. Thank you for the shout out. It is wonderful story and art. And on that note, we are going to say thank you so much to everyone for joining us. Thank you very much, Barbara. Thank you very much, Justin. And thank you to all of our readers. And don't forget, if you want to support Cliff, And if you want to rally behind us getting a Cliff 2 maybe, which, seeing some adventures on the sea would not be something I'd ever miss in promoting, then make sure you purchase the book down below and you'll get a signed book plate, and it can also be personalized to you. But thank you so much, everyone, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.